Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. The S&P 500 was up 1.7% today. Another green shirt day. That's two in a row, which is kind of nice. The big news today was, last night Trump said he had no intention of letting Chairman Powell go from the Federal Reserve. And that was really good news. Obviously it would have been a disaster if they would have tried to fire him, at least, from the stock market standpoint and maybe even the bond market standpoint. So that certainly made things go. The market opened up about 3% today. Matter of fact, we got up about 3.4% at one point in the day and then sold off some. And there was quite a bit of news that seemed to be softening on the tariff side. So where Trump was talking about, how the China tariffs will be lower than they are now. They're going to find a great spot to be in. There was some talk about a 5-year phase in. The market kind of dropped later on when the Treasury Secretary says, well, we don't really have any, tariff negotiations in place yet, essentially no unilateral, agreements on anything as far as that goes. And I think, from a standpoint of what the companies are going to want, it is great to hear something better than the negative rhetoric. But we're going to need some trade deals and certainly some, serious negotiations going on to finally, make companies feel more confident. It seems like the meeting that Trump had yesterday with the CEOs of Home Depot, Walmart, Target had an impact. They were talking to him about how the shelves were going to be empty, different things. And I think, just from a standpoint of what that would look like to, the average person that's out there, I don't think he wants that either. So there's some more motion here. I still think, unfortunately, this 145% tariff on China, it's got to go away pretty fast. It's got to come down pretty dramatically because you're going to have, again, where companies start to run out of inventory and either just don't buy things because the tariffs are so high and they're just kind of waiting until maybe they drop. And that's where you get your empty shelves, or you end up with a situation where, you're trying to pass that cost along to the end consumer. And these are all going to impact earnings and revenues on these companies, big and small. So that's where we're at right now. I still think China has the upper hand here with their dominance in the antibiotic, making and the rare earth metal processing, as far as that goes. So that gives them some advantages here. So it'll be interesting to see how the negotiations go once they earnestly get started, as far as that goes. So, but today was a good day. It was good to see it come up. Now, we are still in a primary down direction, and that's very important in my opinion. So what that means is that the primary direction is down, the big moves will be down, the small moves, the minor moves are up. And so even though we've had two green shirts days in a row, we still haven't set a new higher high. So markets, if you look at the market, had little highs here and there, and we've never been able to come back up to a higher high than the last high. So the last high, as far as I'm concerned, is really the one that was established after the pause day when the market jumped way up. And we were actually right there today, just didn't close above that, fell back down. And so we'll see what happens. But again, I have a checklist. Everything on the checklist is down at the moment. So that would be the first thing to show an upward check mark on the, reversing this trend to a primary uptrend, which I think would be important also. So anyway, that's where we're at right at the moment. Look forward to being able to see what's going to happen tomorrow. And we'll talk to you then. Thank you very much.